Hey everybody, welcome to What the Flick, Doctor Who, episode 905, The Girl Who Died. Meredith, Alonso, Bibbs is lost in time and space this week, but he'll be back next week, I hope. Okay, so another two-parter, although I kind of felt like this could have been a self-contained adventure in a way.
It didn't need to go to two parts, but we knew, I mean, I don't know about you, but I knew it was going to go. Like the moment, just to fast forward to the end, the moment that we put the chip in her, I'm like, this isn't going to go well.
Yeah, I thought that's a big development for this late in the episode, for sure. Now, this is the kind of thing that I have to get walked through. This is the reason why I never watched this show. Because I know there are certain shows that you can't dabble in. You have to like be super ingrained in the mythos or forget it. And so coming in as a newbie, they occasionally pull this kind of crap, and I'm like, what are we talking about?
And of course, Bibby isn't here to explain all the good Doctor Who stuff. You kind of have to deal with me that I'm more, I grew up watching it. I'm still more ingrained in the new stuff. But ask your questions, and I will do my best to answer.
So when we have Capaldi realizing that they are now tying into his previous appearance on the show, which people wondered if that was going to be a thing. I remember I'd heard chatter about that, and he realizes who the Maisie Williams character is. Explain, what do we know? What does that flashback tell us? What do seasoned fans of the show know from having seen that I missed?
Gosh, that for me that's actually a really difficult one to explain, to be honest. It's because I'm still so muddled and still trying to figure it out, because I'm much like you, I'm one of the surface lovers of Doctor Who, so trying to go down into the deep depths of it, for me, I'm just trying to explore all the mythos and trying to play catch up here and trying to figure out what this means.
I see.
And so I'm sitting here struggling, and I'm like, where do we stand, and where are we going? And oh God, now we're dealing with this.
This is your week, commenters. You're going to be like, no, you guys are stupid.
And you guys can rail all you want, but this is why I'm here, is to help unsolve this mystery and unravel this, because I'm here because I want to know, what is this hybrid? Because that's where we're going with this again.
Sure.
So yeah, that's going to be a question and I had actually asked my friends, my boyfriend, and even they were like, we don't know what this means.
So the flash of that Matt Smith, right? We don't know.
I don't know.
Or you don't know.
No,
okay.
Other people definitely know.
Okay.
So.
All right. So sorry, we're failing you this week.
I know.
But there's this thing called the internet. I'm sure someone out there will walk you through everything. So let's talk about the rest of it. I thought this was really a fun adventure. I like the notion of that Clara has spent enough time with the Doctor that she knows how to talk her way out of these situations, and then get saddled with somebody who blows the whole thing for them.
So I love this episode because it really reminded me of last season's Sherwood episode, which was, I know some fans really, really hated it. I thought it was one of the more fun episodes from last season.
It was kind of a throwaway.
Yeah,
but it was
a throwaway, but this was a lot of fun. I just finished marathoning Vikings, so I'm really into the Viking theme. This episode it was a great Clara episode, because we're starting to see how she kind of doesn't really care about danger. She really will run head first into things, and she's really willing to throw away the way she entered that situation, the way she handled it, and then at the end when Maisie Williams' character was dead, the way she kind of handled we saved the town at the expense of one person, kind of showed a side of her that made me start to question, wait, where do you stand on the line of life and death? Where do you stand here for this morality play? And to see the Doctor break down over one life, that really calls things into question for me.
The Minister of War conversation we had last week, if she's starting to believe in the notion of acceptable losses, then that could go in place. And then the Doctor's angle of his relationship with Clara, where he is a hugger, and he is clearly owning how much she means to him,
Yeah. No.
So they're rubbing off on each other in an interesting way.
So cute. He for the first time he felt the emotions. He didn't need to have a cue card. He didn't need to be reminded. He genuinely felt them, and it was so cute.
The training the farmers was funny. What are you going to grow some crops?
Yeah.
I enjoyed all that. The way that he pieced together the secret weapon with the help of the baby. I mean, again, I'm very new to this show, but this is the kind of I like when these are sort of witty and, you know, plausible within their own sphere. And frankly, I like them when they're all wrapped up in one episode, which I thought this was going to be.
I don't think
until it wasn't.
Any episode this season is going to be
Well,
wrapped
that's
in
fine.
one.
Okay, I'll learn to live with
but
it.
But I think while this one could have easily been wrapped, I think where we're going now that we're in like kind of the third set this season, we're going to start seeing the bigger picture. What I think we're going to get out of next week's episode is the foundation for what's going to ultimately be the overarching plot. I think we're going to see a bigger step in that direction.
Okay.
But I don't want to spend too much time worrying about what's next week because there's, you know, I want to bask in the glory of how good this episode was. Because I feel like, I mean, you know, and again, with you being so new, how are your overall impressions? How are you enjoying this?
I like I said, I had a lot of fun with this one. This is the kind of Doctor Who story of the few that I know that I like. And, you know, even when it gets to the stuff where they're being referential about things I don't know, it's sort of like, you know, a friend of mine said, you know, when he was recapping what happens in Armageddon, and he goes, and then space stuff. You know, so like that when they get to like, all right, the Doctor Who, you know, lore, and it will be explained to me, or it won't matter, or it'll just whatever. You know, or Bibbs will talk me through it. So, you know, I don't let it bother me that much.
No, it's good. It's just nice to enjoy something. Like I said, you know, and I know you guys are going to hate me for this, but I really didn't enjoy the Matt Smith stuff as much as I'm really enjoying this. And even last season had its like, I had a hard time finding my footing with it, but I'm having just so much fun, and it's really good to enjoy Doctor Who again.
And I know the people who were super anal about, but Capaldi's been on the show before, and is it canonical? Are like having orgasms now that the show has closed that loop, or is going to anyway.
It's interesting to me that they're doing that because there have been other times that they've had characters, you know, play. I mean, wasn't Karen Gillan? She made another appearance. I mean, a lot of characters have appeared as guests in previous episodes. There, it hasn't been
right,
an
but
issue.
they didn't become the Doctor.
I know that's true. That is true. So
that's a thing.
Yeah, and they did make it a huge reference. So I'm curious to see where they're going to go with this as to why this face appeared and if it's going to be some sort of. I mean. The only thing where I think this might come into play is that because he does acknowledge that they are. They're basically making this up as they go along in terms of the rules of time. Like he he essentially said, we're doing the best we can, you know, with what rules we're making up. And I think we might actually get to see him bend, if not break these rules entirely.
Well, sure.
And I think that's what it's a reference to. And maybe we'll go back to that time.
And with Maisie Williams being now a character who can't die, she automatically becomes a signpost in time where wherever they are, they can find her. You know, they'll encounter her.
Which I almost had like a moment. I was like, what if they made her a new companion?
You know, or a time lady.
Or
for
a
that
time
matter.
lady. Like, what if? I mean, I thought it was really, really sweet that he ended up giving her the other. I'm calling it a chip just because of the square. It looks like a microchip. But I guess it seems like she's giving it to her dad versus like a love interest, which I think, again, is something great that Doctor Who does because they don't always go for the romantic love.
Sure.
They go for something that transcends a little bit more than that. And I don't know, I'm really kind of curious. Oh, no, I'm not really kind of. I'm extremely curious. And I'm a little bit apprehensive about where this is going to go next week.
Yeah, well, we will find out next week. And we hope you guys will come back and we'll talk about it then, and Bibbs will tell us all the things that we don't know because we're not Bibbs. Bye.